Hi everyone, it's Diane with Sew Batik, and today is Fabric Friday, September 15th. This weekend is going to be so much fun, and I know I'm just jumping right to the weekend, but it is homecoming weekend in town. We have a university in town, Mayville State University, where I went to college, and there is a farmer's bowl. There's just a whole bunch of stuff going on. There's parades, there's food, there's football, there's touring different, buildings up at the university, just different things. And so it's going to be a fun weekend all around, and the weather is beautiful. It's just a beautiful fall. Mornings are cool in the 50s, and it just gets into the 60s or 70s during the day, and it's just gorgeous. Plus, we have a bonus this weekend, I should say. My sister's coming to visit, and I love it when she comes because she helps me by helping our mom. And so it's going to be fun. She'll get us into trouble, I'm sure. That's just kind of what she does. If you know anything about my sister, I have to have her on here one time. Nothing like throwing her under the bus. But anyway, we do get in trouble when we're together. So anyway, I'm just really excited about this weekend. But today I have 3 distinct topics that I want to share with you today. One is a new top, and this I introduced last week. It is the Batik 6765 top, and it's a faux wrap. And so we'll get into that in a minute. I'm also going to talk to you a little bit about how to look at pattern jackets. When you're scrolling through the internet, or you're at a fabric store and you're looking through pattern books and different things, like what do you look at? What really draws your attention? And is that always accurate? And so we're going to talk a little bit about this sewing workshop pattern, which is a cottage shirt. And what I found out about this particular pattern, and I'm not criticizing it in any way, just so make sure you understand that. It's my impressions and what I expected when I was looking at this particular pattern, which I love the look and style of. The third thing we're going to talk about today is I spent some time this week organizing our Batik Cottons, which is our 115-inch wide Batik Cotton Collection. And so I'm going to take us over to another table where I have all of them kind of color coordinated again, because I'm trying to do some planning with making fat quarter bundles, half yard bundles, things that are a traditional sellable product for our quilting community. And so I want to take you through some of that as well and show you all of the different fabrics in that collection. And then we're going to answer a couple of customer questions. Let's get started with talking about this amazing top. I quickly changed into the garment. Let's talk a little bit about the pattern. This is, like I said, it's the Batik 6765. And I'm going to remove all these papers just so that I can read this a little bit better. There are 3 different sleeve options. There is sleeveless, short sleeve, and the one I'm wearing, which is a 3/4 length, is called a bell sleeve, and it's really very comfortable. And then the 2 different faux front variations. I'm going to step back here. I'm wearing the one that is a lower angle, and then the other one is much shorter and would be up like this. And I'm going to show you a couple of different variations when I jump over to the overhead on my other cutting table. But let's talk about this a little bit. This pattern, I think, is the same with pretty much all the Batik patterns right now. They come in 2 different size ranges. So you want to make sure you get the right size range for yourself. This is 14 to a 22. The other range is a 6 to the 14 itself. This is our Batik Linen, and it is 54 inches wide. And this particular motif is the Garden East Divine, and the color is Firecracker Red. So it's a combination of red and purple and corals, and just really bold, yet I think it's just really a pretty fabric color. The fabric requirements on the pattern are for either a 45-inch wide fabric and a 60-inch wide fabric. I did my little dance in my head thinking just follow the 60-inch wide fabric requirements and start with that yardage. So I cut 2 yards of fabric, and I think I lucked out because even with the shrinkage of our linen, which is probably about, you should be planning for about 3% shrinkage. But if you are working with 54 inches or 57-inch wide fabric, you may want to just get just a smidge more. And I think for our garment kits, I will make sure that we have allowed for enough yardage, as if it were 60, but just a little bit more yardage to make sure that you don't have to worry about placement so much and can follow the pattern's placement, okay? Let me stand up and share with you the garment. Here is the look of this top. And again, it's a basic top with your sleeve choice, a simple round neck. The back has a center seam and a button closure. And then the accent to this top is simply the wrap and the fabric that makes up the wrap in the front. So if I were to take this wrap off, it's just a simple top. And I will tell you, if you love the look of this top without the wrap, you have yourself a second pattern. So it's really kind of a fun way to have 2 patterns in one. But the tie and the wrap are sewn into each one of the side seams. And you simply tie this up. And remember, with this particular top, the first time I did this, I was trying to do all these fancy ties and told myself that's really kind of silly, because what it's doing is it's bringing in one side of the back of your garment, and we don't want to necessarily do that. We want to just have a nice accent to the front of our top. And so the easiest thing that I could think of was just simply fold this over so that we have our tie. And the one thing too that I will tell you is a great thing about working with batiks is that you can't really tell that there's a right or wrong side of the fabric. So it doesn't matter if the inside or the seam side of your fabric is showing on the outside, you can't even tell. But what I do recommend, instead of trying to tie this up to be a secure knot, use these sew-on snaps. Everybody should have these in their sewing boxes and sewing kits because they're a great way to use a simple hand-sewn snap to keep something secure, whether it be a V-neck top in a dress, like just a V-neck that might be a crossover. It's a great way. You don't see it and it keeps everything secure. So definitely invest in that. And remember, it's our National Sewing Month discounts on all of our notions. So add that to your shopping cart. It's a simple way to add these great notions. So that is this top. And now remember, there are 2 versions to the wrap, okay? One is this longer V, and the other is a shorter look to the wrap as well, which gives more of a clean, straight cut to the front of your top. So I'm going to kind of fake that out a little bit here. And that wrap look would come like this. It's a little higher on the seam, and then it will come across like that. So it will show the bottom of your top. Okay, so these are the 2 different styles for this faux wrap top. I really like it, and I think it's going to be fun also to sew one of these up using our rayon, just so that you can see the difference in the drape. Now, I haven't talked a little bit about the ease. This garment has about 4 inches, 5 inches of ease. And if I have, I'm sorry, I'm probably being a little bit repetitive, but it has a little bit of ease. So really watch for that and what you like as the ease of your garment, because the wrap itself adds another layer to the front of your garment. And so if you don't want something to look as full, make sure that you're, allowing for just a little bit of ease and not a lot of ease on your garment. So really pay attention to your body measurements versus the finished garment measurements, okay? I did have to grade mine a little bit to make sure that I had sufficient space around my hips, but otherwise, this is just such a simple, great pattern with really a fun detail to it. Now, after last week's Fabric Friday episode where I introduced this pattern and this fabric, I had asked a general question about what rayon fabric I should make the rayon version out of. And one person recommended one of our border batik fabrics. And so I'm going to show you, I kind of questioned it in my head. My first thought was, no, I'm not going to do a border batik. How is that going to look with this drape? But then I went back and said to myself, never say no. You never know what it's going to look like. So we're going to give that a look. The other options are to work with two different motifs of the same color so that you can see, I guess my question to you is, can you really see the wrap on top of this garment when it's the same fabric? So we could do something where the wrap itself and the tie are a different fabric or a different motif. Let's say we are going to work with two different twilight or Copen blue fabrics, one Violetta, one Phoenix. It'll give it a different texture and not be all one fabric. And then I think you would really see some of the wrap. And the only reason I was thinking about something like that is because on this particular pattern jacket, you see the one that's made with the plaid? That shows that there is a wrap. You can see it here because of the drape, and you can see it there because of the drape, but it really isn't easy to see that it's just a kind of a cover-up. So let's take a minute. We're going to jump over to the overhead on my cutting table so that I can share with you how the wrap is laid out, what to think about, and actually we're going to use a border batik. So let's jump over there. On my cutting table is one little simple cut of our Durham Dreams Batik Rayon, and this is the color of azalea. So we have black motif running through our azalea red background, and it changes in motif from this selvage edge, which is more of the wheat stalks, and then it changes into kind of a dense motif and loose motif, and then hand-dyed fabric going towards the other selvage. Now, when I'm thinking about this faux wrap top, I guess my assumption is, and this is how I always start, is that the hem of the garment will be the motif. So I'm going to start my hem here, and this will go up the back and the front of my top. Very traditional. It's a very traditional way of using a border fabric. Now, here, this is the size of the wrap for the garment that I'm wearing. Here is my grain line. So I want to make sure that I am either straight of grain going selvage to selvage, or I want to be straight of grain going this direction with our selvage. Okay, so either way. So I started going this way. I started positioning the pattern this way, thinking that, with my assumption, that the border would be along the V, and this is going to be our shoulder, and this is the side seam. This direction goes towards the tie of our garment. And I kind of thought about this, and if you can see the motif through this tissue in any way, I should have probably taken a white piece of tissue and traced this so you could see the shape, but I think you can see it. The motif goes all the way up to almost the top of the wrap, and this is my armhole here. So it does give you a really nice design. It's not going to show you the stalks of this particular design going down, but it is going to give you a little bit of character and texture to the front of your garment. Then I thought to myself, oh, well, what if I turned it around? So let's turn this around and show more of this motif in the top of our wrap, so that the tie is just the red portion, the hand-dyed version here. Because we don't really see the tie that much anyway. This goes into the seam. Wouldn't that be kind of neat? We can always think of positioning the shoulders at this portion of the fabric against the border of the fabric and letting everything cascade down. So that is an option as well. So I wanted to share with you these two options. Now, I want to also share the other overlay. The second overlay is a much shorter one. So I'm going to put this on top of this right now, right here, so that you can see the difference. So all of this V goes away. If I'm going to lay that on a border by itself, that changes things just a little bit, because what this does is it doesn't really give us an opportunity to show very much of the border at all. It's in the tie, and then it works towards the side seam with very little of the border. And I guess I don't recommend turning this piece to try to utilize the border, because then we get ourselves off grain. And I guess I hesitate on that. I haven't tried it, but I believe that with the difference in the grain line, it will drape differently. And I guess I just am not going to try that particular option. So I'm going to stick with my grain line to make sure that everything drapes as it's planned. Now this one, if I were to tip this upside down and use the fabric the other way, let me lean over here. With this, there's our straight grain. So we would have then the shoulder and the side seam would have the motif, which stops right here. And the rest of that would be the hand-dyed red. Okay. So, do you think we should make a garment using the border just to see how it looks? You will have to let me know in the comments what you think about that. The other border, I want to show you another border batik just to give you the difference in look and feel as well. This is our twilight blue. This is the motif that is called Liriope. And this border is much shorter. I'm going to unroll a little bit more here. And narrower, and there's a lot more hand-dyed Liriope. Let me open this up even more. There's much more hand-dyed on this one to play with than the actual border. And I'm going to leave a little bit here on the side so you can see the difference, okay? So this Durham Dreams border actually takes up about 5/8 of the width of the fabric, which is 45 inches. It goes all the way up to here. And so now we have kind of a different look. Let me grab the longer overlay with the V, and let's position that on the twilight blue. I don't know if this will change our minds or not, but I just wanted to show you a narrower border. So our border here will run, and it stops right here across the V, which actually, when you think about it, might look quite nice. We're still going to get that border look. It will use this, you know, it almost uses a good portion of the width of the fabric for this piece. We could then lay out the rest of our garment the front and the back so we can showcase our border. We can showcase our sleeves. You could use the border on it or not, but we can use the hand-dyed side of this fabric for the sleeves to utilize the fabric a little bit more efficiently. So that is what a smaller or narrower border would look like with this faux wrap. And here is the narrower, smaller overlay. And on this one, you basically aren't going to see any of the border. Okay, so the other option here, I'm giving you a lot of options, but if we use the narrower one and turn it around, what we could do, which might actually work out now that I think about it, is the entire top, front and back, could utilize the border as you would assume it would be used. So this would be running along the front and the back of our garment, working towards the shoulder, which would be here. But if we flip this around, we could use a beautiful accent of this without the motif on the front of the garment, and it will really show a difference between the wrap and the garment itself and give it that look of being two different fabrics combined into one garment. Okay, so this is how these garments would look if we used a border batik. One of the things that I want to share with you are what I call lessons learned. And the topic is how to read a pattern and how to select a pattern that meets your expectations of the garment or garments on the front or the back of a pattern jacket. Because sometimes when you're at a fabric store and you're going through some of the fabric books, or you're on the internet and you're browsing through different garment patterns from independent pattern designers, or just whomever it happens to be, and something catches your eye, it might be somebody wearing a garment, or it could be a line drawing, or it could be a caricature like this particular pattern right here. I've had this pattern for years, and this is the cottage shirt. It's a pattern by the Sewing Workshop, and they have amazing patterns. And this is just a loose fitting top. You see the line drawings over here, and it's a button down top. You could wear this open or closed, and it just looks so comfortable, like an everyday top that you can wear to work or wear around your house. I have not made this in any of our batik fabrics. My goal was to make it in a batik linen, because it just has that look of linen on it. This model here that's drawn is wearing a top with a tank top underneath and nice slacks. And so when I first looked at this, I was thinking longer top, really flowy, and just give you that loose cover up feel for a breezy day inside or outside. And I bought this not really reading anything else about the pattern. How many of you do that? How many of you just look at the pictures? Are you a pictorial person? And you just think, this is perfect. This is going to be what I really want. And then you buy the pattern and you look at all the rest of it and say, what was I thinking? Or this is going to be a lot of work to try to get to fit the way I was thinking this garment is going to fit. Remember, when I'm talking about this, it's a lesson learned about how things fit and the level of change you may or may not have to do to a pattern to make it fit what you were thinking. It has nothing to do with the pattern itself, because this is truly a very well-written pattern. They're a wonderful pattern company, and they have really, really great designs, so it has nothing to do with that. So let's forget about that. I did worry about whether or not I was picking something that somebody would take or take offense of, and that is not my point. With that said, I was talking to Kathy about this pattern a while ago, and I started looking at the yardage, and I started to look at the measurements to figure out what yardage I needed for my particular size. First indication that I knew I had to kind of play with this a little bit was the fact that if I were to use 45-inch wide rayon, I would need 3 yards, regardless of size. Extra small to XXL, 3 yards. That is rare. So then I looked at the 60-inch wide fabric requirements and thought, okay, I can use my linen. That's closer to the linen yardage. So, or width of fabric. So for an extra small to a medium, the yardage requirement is 1 7/8 yards, which is 2 yards basically. From a large to an XXL would be 2 1/4 yards, so 9 inches more. So that gave me pause. So then I thought, oh my goodness, look at all this yardage for a top that really looks very streamlined and straight and simple. Then we go to our body measurements. And here's where I realized I should have really been paying attention to the needs of this particular garment and how it was to feel. This is a loose fitting shirt. It truly is a loose fitting shirt. There is 16 inches of ease. This top over here, this is the Remy Raglan top made out of our linen. This top, I was sort of, when I was making it, I got concerned because it has 10 inches of ease. So here is, let me go from behind. This has about 10 inches of ease. So it's very fluid. I love this shirt, by the way. It fits so well and it feels comfortable, and it's just that, I don't know, it's just that loose fitting feel. So when I was thinking about 10 inches, I thought to myself, 16 inches, that's a lot. My decision point was, do I size down to not have so much ease, and what is that going to do to the design of the garment and how it fits, because you have to take that into consideration as well. Or do I just simply make the size that I'd like, that fits me, that's supposed to fit me, with its design element intact? So those are the decisions you kind of have to think about. Well, back to Kathy. When I was talking to Kathy about this, she decided that she was going to take home this pattern, and she made a mock-up of the top, just using any fabric. It was not supposed to be something that she wanted to necessarily wear or whatever. She was just going to pull some fabric out of her stash and make this top. And I'm going to button this so that it's easier to stay on the hanger here. But what we decided to do, or she decided to do, is to make the garment size based off of the finished measurement with less ease, okay? Because it really only has the touch points of your shoulder, your neckline, and then the length, okay? So this here, I believe, is a small. And the finished bust on the small is 52.5. And the length of this garment is 23 inches. So that's the number that I missed this entire way, because I wanted a longer top. I wanted a top that I thought was longer based off this line drawing, and it isn't. It is 23 inches. I believe the one that I'm wearing now, which lands about here, is 23 3/4. So it's not a very long top. It has a very nice style. I will never say anything about the style. It's really a loose fitting top with our sleeve openings here, okay, our arm openings. These are nicely folded over twice. And then the hem itself on this second piece really isn't a second piece. It is a long, thick hem. It also has our side slit openings. What am I going to do with this? I am going to make a slightly smaller size, contemplate changing how the longer hem finishes. That would save yardage. But also, because it has such a loose fit with that 16 inches of ease, that in itself is taking up so much of the fabric as well. Because the width of our fabric being 45 inches, you still need as much yardage to do your double yoke, the main portion of the garment, which is actually, I think this is about a 6-inch hem. This is double folded. So there's a lot of fabric used to make this top because of its design, which is fine. So that's why, regardless of size, it's either 3 yards of 45-inch wide fabric or 2 yards or 2¼ yards of 60-inch wide fabric. So my lesson for today is really 2 things. Pay attention to the look of the pattern jacket and whether or not you saw that on a human being, which is really preferable, or a line drawing or a design. I think it's always really, really great to see it on a person. And you can see so many people post their garments that are made with love on whether it's Facebook or wherever, and you can just Google them and you'll see so many people wearing these garments. So you can always see that. Second thing is always read your measurements and always know your measurements. I am going to start my little cheat sheet of my personal measurements. I have them in my head, and that's really not the way to continuously do this, especially now that Kathy has been helping sew garments. Just knowing those measurements all the time and having that chart is really the great way to work on these and what my preferences are, because I like a longer top. I like a longer dress, you know, just different things like that. We each have our preferences. And so once I get that done for myself, I think I might share it with you guys as like a free PDF so that you can have a little sheet that you can record all of your body measurements and notes of things to think about and how much ease do you like in all the different styles of tops and dresses and knit tops and knit sweatshirts and winter garments and all of that. There's really a lot to pay attention to, and I think it just will improve our overall experience when sewing garments for ourselves, understanding what touch points matter with all the different designs of garments. So think about that. Think about all these different things when you are selecting a pattern for yourself, which I think is really important. You're going to have to help me select which linen I'm going to make this one out of. I think it's actually going to be our chrome. I really want something that is a neutral color because I do wear a lot of black slacks and jeans and stuff. So I think I might do a chrome, hand-dyed chrome, or the Medora Flora chrome fabric. Stay right there. I want to show you those. Here is the Medora Flora chrome linen, which I think would be beautiful, and the hand-dyed chrome as well. If you're thinking of something that's a little bit more neutral, that might work as well. So I think those might be it. And it will be fun to share with you how this top turns out. Next, I'm going to jump over to our sewing table in the front, and I'm going to share with you our 115-inch wide batik cotton. Voila! I really love sharing an entire collection of fabric on a table. Let me tell you, from time to time, Bruce and I take a look at all of the fabrics that make up a collection. And this represents our 115-inch wide Batik Cotton Collection. For those of you who are thinking about the 115-inch wide fabric, mainly used for quilt backings, for shower curtains, for duvet covers, for tablecloths, for things that really are a large piece of fabric where you don't have to piece a 45-inch wide piece of fabric together to make a large quilt backing or anything like that. So our goal is to really make sure that we have a beautiful array of options and shades available so that we can cover most, if not all, of those quilt backing needs, or whether your house needs a new dining room tablecloth for the fall, shades or napkins or whatever it happens to be. Our goal is to really make sure that we have a beautiful array of fabrics in shades and motifs that work for you. And this grouping here does not have the 24 fabrics that I introduced last week as our new 115-inch wide batik cottons. Those are en route, and once they arrive, those are the actual production. And so I didn't want to cut up our samples and put them in here. I want to use the production that comes off our bolts. And so these are fat quarters of all of our fabrics. Now, this does not include our double border fabrics that we have in stock as well, which are great for duvets and for shower curtains and tablecloths and things like that. So those aren't in here, but we have about 8 of those fabrics as well. But this is the collection. So, you know, all of the beautiful shades of, these are like lilac shades, purple shades are together. I wanted to build a group of, from pastels to the brights to, you know, our blues and pinks and the rainbow fabric, which is currently out of stock, but will be back shortly. And just a whole array of fall shades. And we really like to look and see what is here, what might be missing, and how we change and how we add to our collection. So on our website, we are doing a couple of things. We're going to make sure, of course, that all of the inventory is up to date for all of our 115-inch wide fabrics, which is part of our Batik fabric collection page, as well as each one of these can be and will be available as what you would consider a 45-inch wide fabric. We do cut our 115-inch wide fabric down to be a traditional 45-inch wide fabric, because you may not need 115 inches. So let's say Violetta Copen, you need a Copen, you need the Majestic Blue, you need a Twilight Blue, all the way through to Chrome as a fabric bundle, a fat quarter bundle or a half yard bundle for your quilt project. We will make those available. So even though we have our arrangement of 115-inch wide fabric, we cut it down, and it really saves on your costs and our costs, and everything matches. So the front of your quilt will match your quilt backing without any question whatsoever. And the other thing to think about too is on our sale page, and I think I mentioned this last week as well, but on our sale page of our website, you will see shortcuts of the 115-inch wide fabric, 22 inches by 115 or 30 inches by 115. Check those out and really shop those, because there's great savings on those, and you are getting the full width of 115 inches. And so it's just a great way to add smaller cuts if you don't need a large cut for quilt backings or a larger project. So this is in kind of a look-see here. I'm not going to go through each one of these fabrics. I just really wanted to share with you what the entire collection looks like when you see it in a picture or in a little video with all of our fabric arrangements. So if you have any questions about any of these or need a swatch, remember you can always request a swatch and we will send them your direction. So this is our 115-inch wide Batik Cotton Collection, and you have to let me know which one is your favorite. If you were to ask me which one would be my favorite, I would have to select Phoenix, Dark Berry, well, maybe Robin's Egg Green. No, it's probably going to be Blue Horizon, or we're actually in the fall, and you're going to make fun of me now, right? It is Natural Sapphire, Phoenix Natural Sapphire. You know, it really is hard to pick just one. And last but not least, remember that this is September and it is National Sewing Month. We put all of our notions and thread on sale for this entire month, so definitely take a moment to shop for any new notions or things that you just need to replace at home. It's a great time to save on your notions. And I added, I can never stop buying notions. I don't know what it is. I added a notion to our collection, and it is the hot hammer. Remember, I have been using the hot ruler from Clover for pressing seams or pressing, with accuracy. The purpose is that it is a guide that you can use underneath your iron, and it gives you that accuracy level. This is a hammer. So this is what it looks like. I actually took it out of the package to show you, but this is what it looks like. It is not just a ruler, but it's a guide to allow you to, of course, press and measure with accuracy, allows you to get really proficient at doing your corners, a mitered corner as well as a rounded corner. Look at this tool. And there's instructions on how to use this, and I'm gonna start using this in some of our projects so that you can see how you can use this on a daily basis when you're sewing. It's just a great way to help you with so many different hemming projects. So this is going to be fun to use. Thank you so much for sticking with us on this Fabric Friday. One more thing. I've had several requests for a Sew Batik group on Facebook. First of all, let me know if that's something you're interested in, because so many of you want to post pictures, want to share stories, want to share things about working with our fabric, or you have questions that you would love help with that's not simply in our chat. We have a community that really shares information, and I think it's time for us not to just simply have a Facebook page, which is our Sew Batik Facebook page, our business page, but also a group where we can all interact and share stories and share pictures and share projects. So look for that. I will add that to an email newsletter so that you know exactly when our group will be up, and just join the group and start sharing all of your information and questions and comments and pictures and projects and all that great stuff. So until next time, enjoy your Friday, enjoy your weekend, have a wonderful time, keep sewing, smiling, and sharing.